When we look at success, we tend to only see the end picture, the glam, the shout, the appreciation. But we miss to see the sacrifice it took for one to reach at their destined plateau. I'm Treasure Kalambe, and in the process, we're going to sit with professionals and successful individuals from different industries to look deeper in their journey, to unravel the wisdom, the lesson, and the grind it took in order for them to walk in their purpose. Come on this journey with us and discover some key tools that will help you in your process. Hello, everybody. Welcome once again to the process. This is your host, Treasure Kalambe. Always such a blessing and an honor to have you all tuning in with us. We're hoping that these conversations are a blessing. We're hoping that these conversations are educational, inspirational, and they're really propelling you on the next phase of your process. Once again, we have another amazing conversation today for you from wherever you'll be watching. Sit tight. This one I know is going to help a lot of people. I have one of my brothers who's going to be joining me in a minute where we're going to be talking about pressure. We're going to talk about how to deal with pressures, how to overcome pressure, how to use pressure in your benefit so that you continue to succeed. But before I bring my guest for today, I want you to make sure you're subscribing onto the page, make sure you like it, the video, and make sure you hit that bell so you're not missing any of the videos that we have coming up for you. It's an honor for me. I call him my favorite point guard of all time. So it's an honor and a privilege for me today to have our guest who's joining us, Mr. Myck Kabongo. Thank you so much for taking time, my brother, for joining us today. How are you doing?
Oh, man, I appreciate that. You know, you were one of my favorite players growing up. Seeing you and my bigger brothers battle back in the day. If some of the listeners or viewers don't know, Trevor had some, Trevor had some game back in the day. So, from hearing that from you, first of all, I know I'm honored. I'm blessed to have um, represented the country and also the Congolese community at the highest standard, which is getting to a point where every kid wants to get to when they're a kid, which is play basketball and get to the NBA and get to a big time college and play, in big time games and meaningful games in high school. So I know I couldn't have done that without the glory and his hand on me throughout the whole way and the journey that I had to endure.
And that's definitely it. And that's why I'm so excited to have you today to be able to connect. Because if there's anybody, when I think about that topic of pressure and I think about diving into that, there's no one that I know better than to really give some great nuggets that will be beneficial to the viewers who are tuned in. Like you said yourself, a phenom star in Toronto, moving on to Finley Prep in the States and having a successful high school career out there, All American, Jordan Classic. You've done it all. You've been part of every big platform that existed, moving over to Texas Longhorn, and all the amazing work that you did while you were out there, and on to the NBA and every professional league that you've been able to play. You understand this topic, I know, better than anybody else. So I want to get right into it, talking about pressure, because there's a lot of people who, when they are hit with those big lights, they cave in. When they're hit with those big lights, they crumble. Whatever their confidence, their skills, everything disappear. But you've been in the biggest lights, in the biggest platform, on the biggest court all over the world. How did you do to deal with pressure from a high school phenom to a professional star? How did you deal with pressure, and where did you learn those tools that helped you to deal with pressure?
I would say for sure from my family, I think I had a great support system, people that believed in my dreams, which was great because I think all of us have a purpose, right? And we're all shown something that we're here to do and the impact we're supposed to have on others in a positive light. And I've always felt like, I have different callings in this life, but basketball was definitely one of my avenues where I knew it drew people in, and I always knew that when you have somewhat of a talent, there's always following there. And I've always known, like I've always said, people as God, like for real, that's the only way I could have gotten to where I've gotten to with all that pressure too. It's just I had a, my family always never let me read articles, so I never had really a big head to know what was going on. But I always just kind of figured that whenever people wanted to see me take pictures and whatnot, then you kind of know you're a big deal. But no, I want to say that the most important thing for me was just having that stability in my family of people just just put your head down and work. And I think that for any area in life, not just basketball, right? Whenever you can just stick into your own beliefs, and I know I believe in God, and without Him I can't get where I get to. There's always going to be things thrown at you that to try and distract you from your purpose. So I've always just known to just keep the faith with me. I was always on the road, so I couldn't be at church all the time. So I always had that prayer within my own self, that relationship with God that I had within myself to keep me healthy, keep me healthy throughout the whole way. I've never had a bad injury my whole career. That's a whole blessing, 10 years doing it. Never had a bad injury, and I'm very lucky that I still move like a rookie when I'm in the court today. So that being said, it's just like, yeah, you have to have that personal relationship within and know your purpose and why you're here, and then those distractions and the pressure is never really pressure when you know why you're doing what you're doing.
Wow, and you said two really amazing things that I want us to kind of piggyback on. You mentioned family, the importance of having that support system that really helps you to stay on track. You mentioned not having, hearing too much of the noise of what was being said about you out there, having that family and really knowing your purpose, knowing what it is you are called for. So knowing that you're simply stepping out there to fulfill your purpose. And that's so true. When you know this is what I've been given to do, it becomes easy to do it because you're not worried about what people may think. You're not worried about the outcome, but you're simply fulfilling your part in the bigger picture. But talk to me a little bit about, I think about, again, just being on the stage itself in the sense of the family can support you outside of whatever that task is, right? But once you got to step on that court, once you got to step in that studio, because I know you're a musician now as well. Once you got to step on that court and step on that studio, and you don't have the family and you don't have anybody to kind of keep you grounded, what helped you in those moments to deal with that kind of pressure? That when it was just you and the expectation, right? You had, the highest expectation, I think, from many athletes that have come out of here. And today, one of the things I really want to do is give you your flowers. It's
Oh yeah.
not it's not said enough, but you jump started all of this phenom business. You jump started this prep, going out to prep and doing that. You really jump started a lot of that work in the level of success that you did it. So how did you tangibly deal with once you were on that court, silencing that noise? What were some of the things that helped you to do that, to stay focused when the family wasn't present on that court with you?
I think every great player could attest to what I'm about to say, and that's just you have your own standard of greatness and what you expect out of yourself, right? I'm my hardest critic at the end of the day. That's just the way I work, the way I approach practice, the way I approach the week, the way I approach my days. When you're in it, it's just that kind of mindset. So there's never really pressure. The hardest parts for me have always been the parts where no one was watching, when I had to wake up in the morning at 6 o'clock, go lift, go home, eat the right thing, sleep at the right time, sacrifice talking to people back home. So many things that go into it that people don't even notice. That I didn't even know was normal until now that I'm kind of having time to just kind of step back from the game a little bit. It's like, wow, the way the approach and the mindset, the focus that I've always had, I never felt pressure or anything. I mean, I have my own standard, and I think I reached every kind of standard that I could reach within my own self. And this is the path that God has had me on. So I've never felt any type of pressure ever.
And why do you feel that in today's time and age, whether it's athletes, it's musician, it's businessmen, and all of that, why do you feel that nowadays, folks have a hard time maybe handling that pressure, right? And
I think I'm even hearing your question. I think it's just the want of the phone always on you 24/7. And
Yeah.
if you're, I mean, you could tell I'm very present. Like I'm barely on the phone like that. If I
Mhm.
am, it's a phone call or, you know what I'm saying. But I'm very try to be present as much. I'm not concerned about things that don't concern my inner circle or things that are around my neighborhood or things that I'm fully impacted by or hands on with. Because
Yeah.
if you worry about X, Y, Z a little bit too much, you get stirred away from your purpose. So I always
Mm.
feel like you have to worry about on the things that you can impact in a positive light. And if you
Mhm.
keep that kind of mindset instead of the things that, because negative is always going to come up, right? It's going to happen when you turn on the TV, on the news every day. We
Mhm.
always see something negative. There's always a new story of a celebrity doing this or XY athlete doing this. It's always out there. So for me, I
Mhm.
always try to feed myself the right things, and I think that's how it balances out my days with some of the negatives that try and endure throughout my path.
Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing. Oh, wow. Listen, I'm hoping you guys are really hearing these nuggets here. And I think about when I think about pressure, I think about service. That I think about, that what times we put on ourselves is like you said, this unwarranted, baggage that's not really needed. But that really, really what we're trying to do is produce a service or provide a service in an area in which God has blessed us and God has gifted us. I want you to talk to maybe the young athletes. I want you to talk to those young entrepreneurs. You had the opportunity to go and lead the national team in Congo and to really bring back a lot of prominence to that country and to put them back on a stage that they hadn't been. And I see that as a service that you were able to render. Can you talk to, a lot of these young folks or just people who are struggling in kind of trying to figure out and maybe going for the clicks and the popularity, how important it is to use your gift as a service rather than just for the glory of things?
Yeah, like, it's like loving someone for the right thing. And like, you have to have the right intentions with anything that you do. Um, that the game, what you put in the game is what you get out of it. And it's like God. Like, you can't just praise Him on the days you're great, or when the things are just going bad. Like, you have to be consistent with Him for Him to hear your prayer. And that's anything with like basketball. So for me, it's like if you love the game for the right reasons, and you understand that you want to be a great basketball player first and a celebrity, then all the other things just come naturally. That's how it always is. Like, I never ever once wanted to be around any type of high like fame or anything. I've always been someone low key from the jump. You never heard any like, me being out there like that because I've always been in love with the gym, 24/7. I'm in the gym from sun up to sundown. So I love the game for the right reasons. I wanted to be the best point guard in the world. I
Mhm.
never wanted to be in the clubs. No, it was never my thing. I never wanted to be around the parties or be around all that celebrity stuff. Like, I've always chosen to be in it for the right reasons, and that's how, you become one of the 4%, whatever, ever make it to the league or ever even touch a floor like that.
Mhm. And that is so true. I love how you're saying that. So it's a tunnel vision, right? It's having a linear focus on what it is you are trying to do and shutting out
You
all the
have to.
noise,
You have
right?
to.
Hmm.
You have to. Because if you don't, then I mean, it's tough. Of course, now I would say it's a lot more pressure on kids now because you're getting a lot more things faster. Like you said, the clickbait stuff now. You'll
Yeah.
see kids that have not really done anything yet in basketball. But that's the time that they're in now. So that's the
Mhm.
mental toughness that they have to endure. Like our generation is probably different. Like, you had to deal with some tough coaches, like, that could probably never coach like this. Like, there's always something different for every generation that they'll have to
Mhm.
deal with. So I always just feel like, regardless of whatever generation you are, even 20 years down the line, if you hear this interview, you come back and remember it's always within the love of the game, and if you love the game, everything else will take care of itself.
Wow. Thank you so much. And we're getting toward the end, but I want to ask you because one thing I hear from you is a level of an assurance and a certain level of confidence, but that's still very humble. And I want to hear is how did you cultivate that self assurance? Because I think that also works against a lot of people when they're talking about pressure. Is they don't know how to believe in themselves, right? Like they don't believe in themselves, so then the light gets too bright, the stage gets too big, and and they cave. So how did you cultivate this type of confidence, but yet still being humble in the process? Because it sounds easy when you hear it coming out of you, but it's not something that's easy to do because people will either get too arrogant or too sure of themselves. But you seem to have such a balance on having a self confidence while still being humble. How did you get that, and how can somebody achieve that type of balance?
I think the balance comes from I say, the experiences that you have within your life. For me, I know I mean, I've been around basketball and athletics for quite some time, probably half my whole life, pretty much. So I've seen myself be the star player to the last player on the bench. So I think I understand that that's kind of life. You're going to have its peaks and valleys. At some points, you're going to be the starter, and at some points, you're going to have to learn how to play the bench. And you know what I'm saying? Some points you're gonna have to learn how to, climb your way out of the doghouse. And sometimes you're gonna have great games, bad games. So that's
Mhm.
just how my analogy is with my source of, I would say, my source of confidence in myself, because I played every role, and there's always more roles for me to play. But I think the roles that I've played so far, I think I've passed because there's not been easy. Nothing, I think, along my path has been easy, but I think I've wavered through it again with God, and I think that's the confidence, because I know the stuff. I have friends, people that do know my story. A lot of people do know, like, it's like, how do you even stand up still? And I just say, oh, it's God, for real, because I know it's not easy what I went through, but that's just how I look at it, peaks and valleys, and just got to stay even and continue to want to grow, and that's me. I always want to grow more. I always want to learn. So that's where the humbleness comes, because I don't know much yet, but I think I've learned enough experience to know a little bit.
Wow. And like I said, today I really want to give you your flowers because when I watch you, right, and I see everything you've done from the athletic side, business side, and just from a personal standpoint, is that sense of resiliency, and I just want you to know you're a big inspiration to many of us. You're truly a big inspiration to many of us. I don't know many folks with the accolades and the resume that you have, and that's not braggadocious in any way, but I think your resume can be put up with any resume of really any athlete that's come out from this country. And it's just so impressive to see your resiliency, so impressive to see as well you giving back. And maybe that will be, my second last question today is you could walk away and just say, I'm going to do my own thing and I'm going to just, be in my corner, enjoy the fruits of my labor. But now you've chosen to help that younger generation. You've chose to give back. And that can also be a pressure somewhere, giving back and building and molding other people. What is it for you that said, you know what, this is nothing. I want to do this. What's that inspiration around that piece?
I've had the privilege to play for Hall of Fame coaches, and Danny Hurley, the best coach I've ever played for. He knows that. Currently at UConn, and then I've played for Rick Barnes, another coach that's going to be a Hall of Famer, currently at Tennessee, and Rob Lanier too, one of I would say, my mentors at SMU as well, and also Rodney Terry, who's currently at Texas. These are the kind of guys that I would say were great role models to understanding me. For one, I have more to give than myself than just in the game. They've installed that for me since they met me from when I was young. So I've always known I was more than basketball. You see, so when you make this transition of wanting to give back, to me, it was seamless, because I've always understood that I've played for great coaches, and I know what I was an extension of them. So I think I could do this at a high level, because I've always was the person calling the plays for them, thinking about how they would think about things, the practice plan, how to make sure that everyone's sharp, because usually I'm the captain on my team. So these are the things that now I'm trying to install in the young players that I am starting to coach. I'm currently trying to go back to school and get my degree. I'm currently in online courses, because at the University of Texas, because I know the importance of being around these athletes to give back in that kind of way, because there's not a lot of first people that look like us in those positions. And
Right.
two, there's not a lot that are young and still have the story where it's because these kids are online now. It's like if they don't see it, they don't believe it. So everything's online for me for them to know. But more importantly is when they see you in the flesh and you around and really be around that energy, then they know it's real and that your purpose that you're trying to install in them, that they're all young leaders. If you could shoot big and dream big, you can definitely make it. And that's what I'm gonna install on and off the court too. It's not just an on the court thing with me. I try to tell young people it's on and off the court, how you could affect lives in a positive way, in a manner that you'll see that's going to have an impact long after you're done playing. And that's what I think I've done throughout my playing career and now easily transitioning into my next thing, which is being a coach. And of course, like you mentioned, movies and giving back to my community, having my nonprofit camps, just finding ways to continue to use my light that God has gave me and, continue just to do it that way.
What advice would you give somebody that may be finding themselves in a position where they are overwhelmed by life? And this will be my last question today. They feel like since COVID, a lot of people are stressed, a lot of people are under a lot of pressure, right? And a different kind of pressure to pay their bills, to feed their children, to get through that day, to get through that month. And a lot of people are finding themselves falling into some mental health, struggles and different battles with addictions and all of that. What advice would you give to somebody who is in a position where um, they don't see a way out? They don't see how they can pick themselves up and they can cultivate that resiliency and kind of get through that season, understanding that this pressure is one that they can overcome. What would you give as an advice to those people to help them in that season, to see the light and to possibly get themselves to a better place?
That question. It varies because there's so many different things in life that can make you not want to get up in the morning. If it may be relationships, family, or financial reasons or career reasons, whatever it might be, just know that like every minute that you can try and be good to yourself and reassure yourself that you are enough. First of all, that you are someone with purpose here, and then you get from 1 minute to five, 5 to 10. That's what it's gonna take. It's like a minute by minute thing. And then get to the hour. Then try to get to a day, and then and congratulate yourself when you get to those days because I know it's never easy when you're in those states. And most importantly, prayer. Be specific about the prayer, like in the prayer as far as what you're trying to get up for, what you need help with, which kind of addiction it might, whatever might be. You have to be very specific about it to get the help that you need and get a support system too that wants you to be. Sometimes you tend to hide away from your support system when you're in these states, right? So if you're in these states, don't hide. Be around the people that really love you and want to see you win. And I think when you're around those three things that I've mentioned, taking things a minute by minute, second by second, congratulating yourself, telling yourself you're more than enough, being specific about your prayer, and having a positive support system around you, I think you'll start seeing the sun, rise again within your own self.
Wow, wow. Amazing, amazing. Thank you so much for those words of wisdom. My brother, I can't thank you enough. It's really, as I mentioned, a great privilege and an honor to have you. I know you have a really, really busy schedule. So I thank you so much for even taking the time. You mentioned you have your nonprofit and there's a lot of things that you're doing. Where can people go get some information about that? If you want to go ahead, take a minute and just tell people if they want to connect to your nonprofit or support it, volunteer, donate. If they have a kid and they want to put them in a program, where can folks get some of those information? We'll make sure that they get to that.
Definitely. First of all, thank you guys for having me on your platform. Like I said, the days are crazy now, and it's a Monday to Sunday thing to me where I'm on the court and trying to be, like trying to really get these kids understanding the mindset that you have to get ready for this life that we're living in. Because it's tough. It's tough,
Yeah.
but once you have a discipline within your own self and having the why within your own will to get up every day when you're young, it's gonna get a lot easier when you're older. When there's so many things that they try to throw to really, make you not want to get up anymore the older you get. So that's what we got to keep giving to our children and installing in our children that they're great. They have greatness in them, no matter what. And yeah, my camps, Fit G2S camp, that's gonna come out. We usually do a weekend every summer, where I have the professionals in every sport that come down. It's hockey, multi-sported camp. Because I think as a child you got to experience different things just to open, because you never know what might spark the plug in them for them falling in love whichever sport. Maybe basketball, soccer, whatever. So we go in these low income areas and give back to those areas, at EastU Community Center in the East End of Toronto is where the location is at. And then, yeah, that's where you can find it. Just go Fit G2S. It's spelled PHIT, G and 2S camp. .com. And yeah, anytime that you guys need me again, hopefully when I have a better situation with this, you can kind of see me on here. But I know this is not the last time you guys will talk to me. Thank you all for the platform again, and you know what it is. Bless, love, brother, and we'll chat soon.
Katsu, thank you so much. Have yourself a good night, my brother.
All
God
right, brother.
bless you.
Please, peace, one.
Bless. Wow, wow, wow. What an impactful conversation. This is what we love this platform, and this is where we've made this platform available for you on the process so that for you, our viewers, can get these type of tools, these type of knowledge that can help you. Pressure is inevitable, right? In anything you want to do in life, in that career, in that business that you want to build, in that sports that you want to play, whatever it is you want to do, you will encounter pressure. But pressure does not have to overtake you or to destroy you. You can stand and be able to excel and to succeed. As our brother said today, your mentality. Surround yourself with the right people. Get the right people around you. Make sure your mind is at the right place. That it's not just for being famous, being known, making a lot of money. Make sure your why is at the right place and understand that this is your service. Nobody else could do this but you. You are in that position because God knew you could handle it. If you couldn't handle it, He wouldn't have placed you in that position. So have confidence in whom God has created and molded, and then go forward and excel. And the last thing I will tell you, every step, as our brother says, as you conquer one step at a time, the road gets easier. It might seem difficult right now. It may feel like the world is weighing down on you. How am I going to get through? Just trust that process, one step at a time, and things will get easier. I hope today's conversation has truly, truly blessed you. Once again, make sure you like this video, make sure you subscribe, and make sure you hit that bell so you don't miss any of the future conversation that we will be bringing your way. Next week, we have some more amazing guests, so we can't wait to get back to you next week. Until then, God bless you. God keep you. It's been your host, Pastor Treasure Kalambe. Have a good one. Ciao.